Hello. Do we have anybody here? It didn't look like it when I was checking it on YouTube earlier, but yeah. If there's anybody here, welcome. Yeah, screw it. Even if there's nobody, I'll just kind of get into it. So this is the first extended discussion stream that I've done, and it's hopefully going to be the new, I guess, kind of way I do things going forward. And the way that this is going to work is, like I said in my video that I released today, I'm going to just go super deep into every possible aspect of the topic of that video. And then what I'm going to do once I've done my spiel is anybody who's here, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat, and then when I'm done, I will go back through the chat and I will answer all of your questions. And this shouldn't be too long of a stream. Honestly, if it's even an hour, I'll be happy with that. But yeah, with all of that being said, I'm just going to get into it. And what I might do later on is I might cut up the most important parts of this. If there's any bloat or filler to this, I might remove them, and I'll upload this as its own like VOD or extended discussion video for people who don't want to have to sift through a whole stream. So anyway, with that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so here we go. And I'm gonna play some of the spooky music. Hopefully this works okay. Might turn it down a little bit. Okay. Volume levels should be fine. I'm not too worried about it. Okay, let's get into it. So, also, I am a bit sick, so if my voice sounds like I am dying, I do apologize, but it is what it is. So to start us off, let's just go back over the topic of today's video. So today's video, I'm just checking my volume levels. Okay, we're good. So today's video was all about some of the collector's edition lore for the Final Shape that was visible. And we only had 2 pages from the book that was on display on the Bungie store page, but it was, it was still something. And basically, I went through it. I tried to read what I could, and from the information gathered, I did my digging, I did my thinking, and then I made today's video. Hey Errol, how you doing? So I don't know if you heard, but the way that I'm doing this is I'm hoping to keep this to be a not super long stream. It's going to be purely about today's video. I'm going to go as deep as I can into it, and then after I'm done my spiel, any questions that are put in the chat, I'm going to go back through them. So I'm going to say my piece, get it out of the way, and then I can kind of, that way I might accidentally answer somebody's question in my opening thing before they even say it. So it's kind of ideal that way. So anyway, like I was saying, today's video is all about that picture that was on the Bungie store page for the collector's edition of the Final Shape. And all we had access to was, of course, 2 pages, but we still were able to get information from those 2 pages. And like I said in the video, the first page was about those 2 mysterious unknown characters, R, S, and H, and W. And then the second page was Ido and her notes, trying to figure out what was happening in that conversation, also talking about her, I guess, investigating Mercury and talking about that. Also kind of revealing that more likely than not, it's not coming back next season. And I made that video before the whole reveal, I think last night, I don't know when exactly it happened, for Season of the Wish. By the way, I did not see the cutscene for that, I've only seen the picture. But I mean, even from that alone, right, we kind of have a good idea that Mercury's not coming back. So Ido says that at the time of her writing her notes, Mercury is still gone. And like I said in my video, the collector's edition is supposed to be read usually near the end of the final season. I mean, to be fair, this is going to be like a 7-month-long season, so who knows how far away that's going to be. But it's usually near the end of the last season before the expansion, and also maybe for some people who get it late, during the launch of the Final Shape. So if Mercury is still gone in that lore book, then it was kind of guaranteed for me anyway that we weren't going to be getting it back next season, which it does look to be the case. she does make a link to the Vex. And I'm actually gonna, because I'm very confused by this, and I think the confusion is from a lack of context. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the piece of the page that is about that. It's very, very short. So she says, from the context, I guess, about whatever that first conversation was that was on the first page, some sort of computational assistance, there appears to be some okay, this is actually a tongue twister. Etymological, I'm just going to go with that, overlap with the names of Vex mines. Something to investigate later, perhaps. So she doesn't even really go into detail about it. She just points out that there seems to be a connection with the Vex, which, going over everything in the first page, in that first conversation, I really don't see it myself. But the main focus and the main thing that's interesting for me is definitely the first page, and that's probably where I'm going to spend the majority of this discussion. Before I get into that, I am going to just get another... Let's just play another song. Okay. So this, if it's a bit scuffed, I do apologize. I was gonna try and spend more time on I was gonna try and spend more time fleshing out everything, but a lot of time went into production stuff like stream transitions and in that intro that I actually had at the start. Okay, so let's get back to this first page. So to summarize the first page again, it was very basic up front. You have these two characters, RS and H&W. We don't know what their race is, we don't know what their actual names are, but they're talking about the gardener. Mainly H&W is. And H&W is talking about the fact that they're watching the gardener, presumably given golden ages. That's the implication I got from reading everything. But regardless, she's letting different factions make these mistakes and cause errors. Okay, I just deafened myself. Thanks. So I'm going to read out the part of this that's actually relevant to that. So again, because the conversation is at the very end of the conversation, we are missing context, and literally page 1 begins on the end of a sentence, so we don't even have full access to the first sentence on this page. But we have a faction called Bountiful/Swarm on their path to their great fatal error. It, and by it I believe they're talking about the gardener, it did not stop the conquerors/primacy/sovereign from using the gifts it granted for subjugation. Are we to accept that these two were meant to happen? If you reject the notion that destruction can be a final shape, how are we to accept that the gardener allowed us to make such grievous mistakes? And that is pretty much everything that is talked about in regards to these other factions that are, I guess, going down the dark side. But what I will say is that I can kind of have a good guess as to who these factions are. Well, mainly who they're not, for the first one anyway. So the first faction is this Bountiful/Swarm faction. And if you were to kind of think about it, unless it's some random race that we've never heard of before, there are only two possibilities that I can think of, that being the Vex and the Hive. Now, the words bountiful and swarm do, to a certain extent, apply to the Vex. And, I mean, they were bountiful and they kind of, I guess they do kind of swarm. And the word error itself, I mean, you can kind of connect it to the Vex, whatever, the great fatal error. But again, it's super vague. I can't tell you if it is or isn't. What I can do, though, is I can pretty confidently say that it is most likely not the Hive. And I'm going to tell you why later on in this page, because there's actually evidence that pretty much confirms that it's not the Hive. Okay. Now, as for the conquerors/primacy/sovereign, the fact that they use the gifts that the gardener gave them for subjugation. So what can we take away from looking at this faction? So first of all, we have the fact that they're conquerors. Okay, that explains, I guess, their actions and maybe their ideology slash lifestyle, if you really want to go into it. You have the primacy. Primacy is the name of a leadership role within a church. And then you have sovereign, meaning obviously like a ruler or a king. Okay, I might pull up a picture. How about we pull up a picture? So, in my opinion, there's only one faction that I believe that this can be, and that is these boys. And I'm going to tell you why. So the reason why I believe this faction, these conquerors, the primacy, and the sovereign are the Black Fleet is for it's for the easy reason, which is that it just makes the most amount of sense. But I will tell you, I will break everything down exactly why I think this is the case. Okay, so let's start off with conquerors. Well, I personally am of the opinion that they're not like the Hive or the Winnower in that they're just wiping out every single Golden Age. Their focus is very clear. It's the Gardener, it is the connection with the Veil, and I think that has a lot to do with why they didn't just bulldoze all of the colonies like completely flat. Well, partly because I don't actually think that they did a lot of that damage. Okay, I'm going to change the song again. What I'm going to do is, probably for the next time I do one of these streams, I will have a playlist made. But, for now, I am a bit scuffed. I do apologize again. Let me see. What's a good song that I can do? Preferably, I would actually... Can you give me a nice long song? That'd be pretty good. Alright, I'm just going to play this. So, to start us off with Conquerors, I think that regardless of how much destruction the Black Fleet has caused, the fact is that from an ideological standpoint and point of view, the Black Fleet follows a version of the sword logic, which is a conquering, that's just the way it is. The second thing, again, is of course that the Black Fleet did cause a lot of destruction. Now, we weren't able to... This isn't like the Hive and the Books of Sorrow, where you could go and you could try, oh yeah, Oryx killed these guys, and then Savathun killed these guys. We don't have that kind of track record or that history available to us. But we do know that they were present for the Whirlwind. We know the Hive were present there too, but we do know that they were present for the Whirlwind, and like I said, they are going to be chasing the Traveler, so if the Traveler is at a Golden Age, when they get there, they're probably going to wipe it out while they're there anyway. And at the end of the day, right, they're going for the final shape. And if you're going for the final shape, what are you trying to do? It's very simple. You're trying to lay claim to ownership of the universe because you're going to remake it with your rules and your boundaries. So you're kind of conquering the universe. Again, I'm going really deep into this, but if I literally had to explain perfectly every single reason why I think that this faction are the Black Fleet, that's what I would say for the Conquerors part of it. The next part is the primacy. Can I just play the song, dude? Can you play the song, please? Okay, there we go. I don't like that song. I don't like that song. Okay, we're gonna pick a different song. Perfect. Okay. Next reason. Primacy. Cool. Well, again, very simple. We know that the Black Fleet and the Pyramid Race religious, very religious. The interesting thing though with the Black Fleet and the Pyramid Race is that they actually have two religions. They have the first religion, which is of the Gardener. Now, I'm actually just going to quickly go back to the first picture. And this is a very, obviously, We never got to go here. Who knows if it ever ended up looking like this. With that being said, you do have these statues of the gardener. And I think at this point, who else could this be? I mean, I'm not really going to spend this discussion stream debating the gardener and the statue, but let's just say, for argument's sake and for the point of my discussion, that this is the gardener. The gardener very clearly is in a place of importance in their culture. We even know that from the cutscene, they worshipped, quote-unquote, the gardener as their god of life, which, of course, that was being a reference to the traveler, but we can also, because we look into things, we can also connect that to the actual character, the gardener. We know for a fact that they worshipped the traveler / gardener as their god of life. Okay, that's religion 1. That's religion 1. But they also had a second religion. And that was after the fall. They turned on the gardener. Now, it could have been a deception. I think it was a deception from whatever was speaking from inside the veil. But when they decided to get their final shape, it wasn't just, yeah, we're gonna do this to the universe. Yeah. No. They straight up believe, and they believed then and they believe now, that the gardener was their enemy. The gardener was the reason behind suffering. They effectively joined and agreed with the Winnower's argument as to why the gardener is bad. And that is very evident in the Witness cutscene, where just look at the language the Witness uses. You promise them life as you have for so many before. The universe makes us perpetrators and victim, whatever the line is. It's very clear that they see the gardener now with the sense of enmity. So why am I saying that they have a second religion? It's very simple. Again, the evidence, which is inside of their architecture. That being, pull up the next picture. So this is very scuffed, okay? But these swords are all Pyramid Ship related, except for the middle one, which is the Winnower sword, at least from the concept art of the character who I believe is the Winnower. This is actually from the 9. This is from the Falling Guillotine sword, which, for the record, is Pyramid Ship based. Same thing with this. This is actually the other half of the Falling Guillotine from that same picture. And this is literally from Pyramid Ship architecture. And that isn't even all of it. And these swords, as I explained in a video, are effectively the crosses of their religion, which is a version of the sword logic. And the reality, whether or not you really want to completely go on board with what I'm talking about, is that they do follow a version of the sword logic. Now, it isn't perfect, because necromancy is considered acceptable. The word salvation completely goes against the sword logic. And even the Witness's version of the final shape is not the Winnower's version of the final shape. So it's like you have the religion about God and Jesus, but then at the same time you have the Protestants and the Catholics and the Orthodox whatevers. They're all very different, but they kind of are connected. So you can consider like that. It's like, think of it like the Black Fleet are Protestant and the Hive are Catholic. Whatever. Okay, cool. So where does the primacy come into this? Well, primacy, the religious leader, I think there's only one answer for that. It is this figure here. And it's interesting again because primacy is linked to a singular entity or person in a role of leadership. And again, you have the Black Fleet with the one figure with the role of leadership. So again, I know I'm going deep into it, but you do have the religious aspects of things, and you do have a character who can fit that mold very well. You even have religious symbology and terminology with the Witness and its disciples. And I think even some of the tormentors' names, I think it's like the reverence or the whatever of the witness. There is a religious atmosphere surrounding this character. So again, I think that that is applicable to that. And then we come to the third name, which is the Sovereign. If you know me, you know where I'm gonna go with this. I just did the wrong thing. That's really good. Okay, cool. So we have these statues. Okay, cool, nice. And back in the day when I looked at this picture, I said the biggest thing about this picture is that it shows a culture and a civilization and a history. And part of that culture, I believe, was the king and queen. And I believe that this is the sovereign that is being talked about. Now, at the end of the day, whether I'm right or not is completely irrelevant because we're lacking so much context from this collector's edition that it doesn't really matter. All of it is speculation. Your speculation. But for the sake of just having fun, right? If I had to explain every single reason why I think that Conqueror's primacy sovereign faction are the Black Fleet, it's, you know, for the sovereign part, it's this king and queen. And from a basic standpoint, this king and queen here, obviously this was concept art released, I believe, sometime after Beyond Light. And at first, we just assumed that it was all nothing, right? No, I didn't, but, you know, like, we didn't know for a fact that we didn't know how much of it was actually used, right? I knew for a fact it was definitely for Destiny 2, because, I mean, like, look at it, right? But at the same time, we didn't know how much of it was used. And I've said this so many times before, but all of that changed when on Europa I discovered that these stands here made it into the game. And it's in the first week of the EXO challenge, which is survival. And when you're going around and you need to go to the fires to warm yourself up, these are the fires. And I believe it's... I can't remember which one of these two it is, but whatever. So I was like, okay, so these statues for a fact were used. At least a part of them were used. Cool. And then, later on, I discovered, thanks to a friend of mine, during Season of the Haunted, that using a program called Charm, which is used to rip textures from the game files, the set of trinkets that are on Eris's desk on the moon, you know, like her little things that she wraps around the guns and all that, cool, yeah, whatever, they were ripped from the game files. And I know I've shown this before, but I will show again, for the sake of this stream, those textures. So we have some rope that we used to tie around the things, okay? And by the way, I'm pretty sure that these ropes were also used to be tied around the mummified bodies and the pyramid ships as well. And, okay, interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, whatever, nice. And then we get this. And I'll just pull up the, I have a different version of this, it's a bit easier. Just zoomed in. There you go. And here you go. From the game files, you have the king and the queen. And, I mean, I don't think I really need to. I don't think I really need to do this, but, let me pull it up. There you go. They even have the thingies, you know, the whatevers. Cool. And that's when I realized, oh dang, okay. This wasn't just concept art. This wasn't even concept art that made it to 3D models that were then scrapped. This went from concept art to 3D models to in the actual game textures. Now, I was told, and I cannot confirm this because I never saw it, but in the Chantry of the Darkest Hour, the Church of Nezarec in the final mission of Season of the Haunted. When you're going through the Chantry, in one area of the mission, there's multiple levels. And you can, I think, go up maybe like the first 2 levels, I can't remember, but then the third one, whatever. But there's a whole level that you can't have access to. You can't jump up that high. And apparently, some of the mummified statues, or the bodies, sorry, some of the mummified bodies in that mission had these around them. But again, I never saw it, so I cannot confirm that. My point being, when I'm making links between the word sovereign to the king and queen and the pyramid ships and the race, there's very solid evidence to back that up. But just for the giggles, if you were to ask me, who's the king? Well, I can give you 2 answers. I can give you the original answer, which I believe was the original answer, and possibly a newer version. I don't know. The first original answer that I would have given you is, again, very simple. It's Nezarec. Nezarec is very interesting as a character, and I'm not going to make this whole stream about Nezarec, but I actually had a chunk of this in the original script for my video, and I ended up cutting it out to save bloat. Nezarec was introduced in-game before the concept of... before the Winnower was name-dropped, and before the Witness was introduced as a character. Nezarec, his lore completely, like his helmet lore, completely goes against everything that we've seen of him so far. Everything. And then you have the fact that the Moon Pyramid was his original ship. You have the fact that he had a church made for him in that ship. And this wasn't like Rolk with his little Lubre souvenir memorabilia that he like blue tacked onto the wall, right? This was straight up rooms. It was big, man. It was big. And it was made from pyramid architecture. And before I'm missing anything, oh, also, which a room that I believe, and again I can't confirm this, but a room that I believe is connected to the Nezarec's Whisper glaive is this. Is this room here. And in my headcanon, if you were to read the Nezarec's Whisper glaive lore, this is the room that Eris ends up in. But that's just my own headcanon, whatever. Okay. Let me just go back to my notes here just so I know exactly what I'm... Okay. Yeah. So considering that Nezarec's symbol are on the stand, it's on the stands. Considering that he has a dedicated church in the Moon Pyramid. Considering that in Season of the Plunder, his artifacts contain, and I quote here, this is a quote, pure darkness. Considering that the Whispers, which I believe to be the souls of the Pyramid race, hung around those artifacts, they whispered and all that. Considering that in the statue, and I showed this in my last stream, considering in Root of Nightmares, the statue of his original form, before he became Nesquick, considering there are whispers hanging around that statue, considering that in all of Nezarec's Lightfall lore, there is a lot of whispering going on, and considering that in the Moon Pyramid itself, which also, by the way, is full of whispers just by itself, that in the Lightfall lore, when somebody tried to go in and they were desecrating his body to cut it up, the whispers started hissing at them. Considering all of that evidence, I do believe, and considering again that he literally had his own ship and whatever, I do believe there is evidence to support that he was the original king of the Pyramid Race. But what did we get in the end? I don't even have it in my folder, but maybe I can just pull it up real quick. I should have it in this other folder, though. If I don't really care. It hurts the soul. I will pull up this picture, though. I do have this one available. I can... Okay. But anyway, you know what happened, right? We got the dude, the big boy, the big Chungus himself. So, who else do I think the Sovereign could be? Maybe the Witness. And while I was making that original script, I had a theory, and it was so cool, dude. I kid you not, I want it to be true so badly. Even though I would prefer Nezric to have been the original king character, if they end up doing this, which I'm not saying they will, I would be okay with that. What if? Because here's the thing. There's always the king character, right? That's whatever. There is nothing about this, the queen. There is nothing. There is no information at all. Nothing, right? Well, we know that... Well, I'll tell you. I'll show you. What if the king and the queen... Now, I know what you're thinking. Dude, it's all of the Pyramid Race. And you're right. And yet there's only two main voices. One male voice and one female voice. What if? Because the thing is, this isn't like, this isn't like Split where there's like 50 personalities fighting for control. And if it was just the one dude who was originally like who was in control, and I don't think that this is just a brand new being either. I do think this thing has the memories and the personalities of at least one or two people who did originally exist. And the fact that it's two, okay. What if you have all the race inside the body to make the body, but the two leading personalities are the king and the queen? And then you connect that with the primacy. That would be cool. But again, I'm going super deep into this, right? That's the point of this stream. I would never put this in a script because it would blow for too long. But so we talked about this faction called Conquerors / Primacy / Sovereign. And I believe that it's the Black Fleet. I explained the Conqueror's point. I explained the primacy and the religious point, and I've even gone super dark, deep lore mode into the Sovereign point. And then to top it off, you have the fact, okay, so it gave them gifts, that being the Gardener. That means one thing. It means a golden age. The Black Fleet and the Pyramid Race had a golden age. Cool. And it used them for subjugation. There's only one faction in the game that is connected to the term subjugation, and it's the Pyramid Race and the Pyramid Ships. And so I believe that that is that. And now for some of you, when you were reading that lore, if you've seen it or you watched my video or you've listened to me speak, you might be thinking to yourself, but dude, I could have guessed this ages ago. I know. But I wanted to properly spell it out exactly. So that's that. We have this faction who I believe are the Black Fleet. Cool. Okay. Now I'm gonna go back. Cool. Nice. Okay. I'm going to move down a bit. By the way, everybody, if there's anybody asking questions, I said at the start of this, but I'm kind of getting my spiel out of the way about this extended discussion, and then that way I can go through and I can then just do all the questions, and we can just go full, like, conversation mode. Okay. So next up, we have these two characters, Arn and H&W. And the interesting thing is that they know about the Gardener. We don't know a lot about her. We don't know how much they know, but they know about the Gardener. They also know about the concept of a final shape. That's actually interesting for a very specific reason, the final shape part of it, which is that, as far as I am aware, the only reason the Black Fleet learned about the idea of a final shape and getting that was because of the Veil. This faction proves that you don't need the Veil to understand and learn about a final shape. So they learned about the final shape from somewhere else, and they made their own version of it. Okay. What's also interesting is that Ido says that conversation log... I'm just gonna read the thing. In any case, this is from Ido. In any case, the concept of the final shape has worn many faces. From your encounters with the disciples of the Witness, we know that they all had their own understanding of this concept, but they all saw what they wished to see in it. But this communications log appears to predate all of them. If I am correct, and the parties communicating are among the Witness's precursors, then this may be the concept's original form. So, this is before the disciples. You know what else that means? That means that the Hive are not that first faction, the Bountiful Swarm. Why do I say that? The Hive only existed because of Rolk. Because the Witness sent Rolk to basically force the Worm God's hand. Also taking Zeta, which is the Worm God present in Rolk's pyramid. So if this conversation log is before any of the Witnesses, and of course Rolk was the first disciple, then yeah, it's not the Hive. So again, that leaves only potentially the Bountiful Swarm being the Vex. But again, actually, and that would nearly make sense if that was the Vex, because Ido mentions that link with the Vex Mines. I don't know. The next thing that I'll talk about real quick is, and I mentioned it in the video, is this concept of the original Golden Ages being way more powerful than the later on ones. Now, before I had any idea that there were any factions before the Pyramid Race that were given a Golden Age, I entertained the thought that the Pyramid Race might have been the first ones to get a Golden Age. Because the fact is, bro, they are broken. And especially considering the fact that the Black Fleet, the ships, were made... Oh, actually, I completely forgot. I'm a Bingus. Wait a minute. I'm a stinky Bingus. Beep, 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 beep. Gotta go back. 1 second. So this picture here, from Dima... What was his name? Oh, I'm gonna get in big trouble if I forget his name. It's Dima something. But anyway, the Bungie artist himself said that these pictures, and I'll pull up the others as well that I have from this set. This one necessarily isn't, but I'm just gonna pull them up anyway because it's fun, you know. Were places of worship and ritual and gathering. So again, this confirms that religion with the Pyramid Race. The difficult thing, though, is that, like I said, the pyramid ships were made before the fall to the darkness and the veil. So, what religion are these supposed to be for? Now, obviously, you can get rid of this thing because Rolk decided to be, you know, I'm gonna blue tack my trophy onto the temple. Look at me. Okay, yeah, we don't care about that. As for the rest of it, it could have been part of worshipping the gardener. And then, but maybe they made this after the fall. We don't know. Anyway, I wanted to point that out. So the fact is that the Black Fleet is stupid powerful. It's the most powerful faction, the most powerful entity apart from the Gardener and Winnower that we've seen. And I would say even more than 9, because in 9 lore from season of whatever, Gambit Prime, Joker's Wild, whatever, season of Gambit, season of Bingus, there's 9 lore that talks about the, the falling veil or whatever, whatever. They're talking about the pyramid ships basically coming in. The 9 fear the Black Fleet. That's what's established. At least the one faction within the 9 do. And they got that technology during their golden age. Imagine if that was every single golden age. Here's the thing. The Black Fleet, we can all agree, would easily decimate the Hive. Now, I would love to see Oryx using that like main weapon in his dreadnought. Like when he like slams a sword down and then it sends. I would be very curious to see if the Black Fleet can actually stand against that. But apart from that, obviously, if it was a ship battle, fleet battle, he's going to win. And yet, every single golden age that we've heard of coming into contact with the Hive, just bye-bye, GG. Okay. You have the fact that Savathun says that they were blessed by the light. You have, in my opinion, them messing with the light, causing potentially natural disasters. You have their knowledge about the Gardener, knowing what she looks like, and I do believe they knew what she looked like. I do believe she appeared to them. Now, I actually think that it's more likely that she appeared in dreams than in person, but that's whatever. But have you noticed that in the future, if you go to a lore that takes place after that ancient cutscene that we got, the Black Fleet and the Pyramid Race, and even after this lore with RS and H and W, nobody knows who the Gardener is. Nobody knows. Like, you had in the Witch Queen Collector's Edition, you had Ikora and I can't remember who else it was, maybe Osiris or some dude, talking about, they mentioned Unveiling, and they talked about the Gardener and the Winnower, but they were talking about them as the characters in the story. They weren't talking about them as the actual characters in the game. Asa, in that cutscene with the Black Fleet, talks about the Gardener as a character in the world. This lore talks about the Gardener as a character in the world. That knowledge was lost. At least I think it was. You have, again, look at the Books of Sorrow. You have the darkness that is the deep, right? Now they call it the deep, but they do also acknowledge that the deep is the darkness. So why don't they call the Traveler the sky? Isn't that interesting that people think that the Traveler itself is the Gardener, being the sky or the light, and yet the worm gods, who would know far more than anybody about light and darkness, they don't call the Traveler the sky. They call it the sky's bait star, being like a weapon or a tool. The Traveler is the light's tool. And so if the Gardener and the Winnower are the ones who control the light and darkness, then why would the Traveler itself be the Gardener? But that knowledge, again, I think has been lost. It's either lost or it's been kept from everybody. And I think Golden Age-wise, the reason why Golden Ages weren't given that knowledge, again, look at the Fallen. They called the Traveler the Great Machine. They had no idea who the Gardener was. You have the initial concept for the first cutscene of Destiny. I know, by the way, this song in the background's been looping, but I kind of think it fits the atmosphere, so it's fine. You have the initial concept for the cutscene for Destiny 1's first cutscene. And I'm just going to pull it up because I do have it here for sure. For sure. This is a good one here. Right. I should be showing what I want to show you. Yeah, here we go. Again, this is from that initial cutscene. And as you can see very clearly, this is concept art for the Gardener. And this is the exact same pose. So this is the Gardener. Cool. That's the Gardener. Veiled woman. Veiled woman. GG. Okay, cool. Anyway. So, My belief is that after the Black Fleet fell and the Pyramid Race became the witness, that the Gardener knew that she had to dial it back. And so from then on, it didn't give as powerful Golden Ages. Now, obviously, that meant that they had a worse time against the darkness and its forces. For sure, obviously, right? But at the same time, it made sure that there would never be a threat as big as the Black Fleet again. And even the Hive, again, as powerful as the Hive became, I don't think they were as powerful as the Black Fleet. I don't. So my theory was that after the Black Fleet Golden Age, the BFG, that the Golden Ages got weaker. And the fact that we know that, I do believe that it is pretty much confirmed that, it's pretty much confirmed that HNW and RS, their consensus faction, right? Excuse me. The fact that they know about the Gardener, that they know about the final shape, that they're going after a final shape, they believe that they're strong enough that they can get it. That they have been existing since before the Witness and the Black Fleet, and they are aware of it, and they're tracking them, they're keeping their eye on them. The fact that they're potentially tied to the Eye of Another World Helmet's lore, talking about this other faction, this other world that warned us back in 2017 about the dusk of the pyramid. There is no way that a faction like this, in my opinion, can get this powerful without having a Golden Age. Now, the first thought that comes to my mind, let me just make sure I'm not missing anything else. We'll open this picture here. This is also concept art for that same cutscene, by the way. And I will also pull this up. You can see, does it matter? You see the blue lady and then the thingamajiggy here. Okay, cool. The first thought that came to my mind when I was talking about how powerful this consensus faction were, right, is the Nine. The Nine are pretty powerful. The Nine can't get a final shape, dude. They can't even seemingly leave the solar system. They're stuck. They're contained to their own little realm. I would argue that this faction is beyond them. Now, sure, okay, fine. You stick these guys inside the Nine's realm. Obviously, the Nine are probably gonna have an advantage, but like, you know, it's different. But you know what I'm trying to say. Okay. So my opinion and my theory from this, and again, dude, everything that I've been talking about for nearly the last hour is just from this, bro. It's from this. I know. This is what I do. Okay. This faction, I believe, were given a golden age before the Witness, before the Black Fleet, and I would argue they had somewhat of a positive relationship with the Gardener. Obviously, if they had a golden age and they're not with the Gardener, then the Gardener left them, right? It seems if that was the case, it was a bit of an amicable departure. They understand the concept of a final shape, but still it is a selfless one that is very much linked with the Gardener's own vision, where there's no evil or suffering and everybody's getting along and whatever. Okay, cool. We don't know, because so far the only way that we've seen to be able to get a final shape is to actually like get inside the Traveler and seemingly put the Gardener at risk. We don't know if they'd be willing to do that, and they might be willing to do that. And I think that actually would be tied to what H&W was talking about with the Gardener making mistakes. Maybe you could tie that into their ideological belief or their suspicion that the Gardener should not have the keys to the universe. It's the age-old argument of God allowing suffering and sin. It reminds me of that. This is going to sound really cringy, right? But it reminds me of a quote from Batman v Superman, which is, if God is all-powerful, then he cannot be all good. And if he is all good, then he cannot be all-powerful. Whatever. Okay. Right. So, I think, yes, they had a golden age. They have a somewhat positive relationship with the Gardener. At least they don't hate her, from the sounds of it. And they've been watching, and they're powerful enough to observe and not be destroyed. Now, again, we don't know if they're still around. The book, literally the last page, the next page of this lore book could literally be, oh, and by the way, we found the remains of their civilization. Okay, whatever. We don't know. My point is this. From everything I've just told you about this faction, if they're still around, these are big players. This isn't like Ephrodite's random pacifist faction outside of the edge of the system that's like, oh yeah, I have like a bunch of I have my own mini Guardian army that's just pacifists. Who cares? No, Bungie's probably forgotten about them anyway, right? If these guys did not get destroyed and they're still around, and they have the ability seemingly to get a final shape, at least enough to the point where they believe they can get it. These are actual valid players in this game. And that leads us to the Eye of Another World helmet lore. Again, it could have been retconned. Again, Bungie could have forgotten. The guy who wrote it might not even work there anymore. But it would be really cool. And that, as far as I am aware, is everything that I can tell you about this topic. I gave you a 10-minute video, and I gave you an hour-long stream. But I have literally exhausted everything that I can think of about this thing. But what's also interesting, actually, because I'm looking at the end of this lore, and Eidos says that we can see in this log that H&W and RS, at least, were preoccupied with the concept of a higher purpose. That's exactly the same thing as the Pyramid Race. That's the exact same thing as the Pyramid Race. Where the whole thing with the Pyramid Race is, we have no purpose, we need to find one. And they ended up going to, you know, the wrong place. They are basically like the good version of the Black Fleet in terms of their motivation and ideology, from the sounds of it. But that being said, they are still not content to just let the Gardener do whatever. And why would they? So first of all, this is my final part of this topic, right? Final part, promise. We talk about the Gardener allowing these factions to make these mistakes. Why did the Gardener allow the Black Fleet to fall? Why did the Gardener allow the Hive to be made? Why does the Gardener let collapses happen? 2 reasons. Very simple. First reason, the Gardener and the Light do not beat the Darkness in a straight up fight, I would say 9 times out of 10. 8 if it's lucky, right? So the Gardener is giving these Golden Ages knowing that they're going to be destroyed. So why does she do that? It's because the Gardener's not human and we shouldn't treat her as human. This is literally a being made by mathematical chance with only one function and one purpose, which is to give life and to see it prosper and grow. That is why it changed the flower game and unveiling, and that is why it's giving Golden Ages. It could know that literally 30 seconds after it gives a Golden Age, that Golden Age is going to get destroyed when it leaves. It's still going to give them. It literally cannot stop. And that ties into my video. Again, very short video, 5 minutes. Definitely recommend you checking out. It's a 5-minute video called The Lie of the Gardener and the Light. And this is, again, connected to the Witness. You have the Lie card showing the Gardener in Season of the Witch. And then you have, and so what is the lie? Simple. The Witness says, you promised them life, but you delivered only death. That's the lie. The lie is that the Gardener's like, yeah, I'm going to give you Golden Age and everything, knowing that we're going to get slaughtered. But the Gardener can't stop. And what's interesting is that this is something that this faction, at least H&W anyway, were aware of. They saw it happen in real time. And I think that ties into the fact that, you know, even if they're kind of pro-Gardner, even if their ideologies are kind of along the same lines, they don't trust the Gardener with the keys to everything. Somebody has to get a final shape if there's going to be true peace, if there's going to be true salvation. And the Gardener is not the answer. Now, maybe RS knew all of this and it was just like, yeah, we're going to find out when we find out, when we get the final shape. You know, we can talk to the Gardener and find out, hey, why are you doing this? H&W actually really kind of messes them up. You know, they're like, what's going on here? And who knows, we don't know exactly what their ideology was, but depending on how pro-Gardner it was, you know, again, talking about their golden age and all that, this whole concept that, oh, everything's part of the Gardener's plan. Oh, the Hive were made. Oh, it's part of the Gardener's plan. It's going to work out. And oh, it's the Black Fleet. It's part of the Gardener's plan. But they're literally the most powerful thing we've ever seen, and they're slaughtering everybody. It's the part of the Gardener. But why? But the Gardener's been running away for the last 1,000. It's gonna. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And H&W can't accept that. And that bothers RS, which to me indicates an ideological thing going on here. It could be a religion, who knows? But regardless of how pro-Gardner they are, the fact that they're aware of the Gardener allowing these bad things to happen, the fact that H&W at least raises the concern that if they don't get the final shape, somebody who probably shouldn't will, being like the Witness or the Winnower, that could destroy the whole universe, and the fact that both RS and H&W confirmed that this consensus was going for the final shape themselves, possibly at the Gardener's expense, to me shows that this faction, regardless of how pro-Gardner they were, still didn't trust her. And that is 100% how I believe we should be as well. And anyway, that concludes this discussion stream. Thank you for bearing with me. What I'm probably going to do is at some later point, I might turn this into like a VOD for people that don't want to have to sift through everything and whatever. But yeah, that's the discussion. And yeah, GG. Okay, so I'm going to go through. If you had any questions, I will answer them now. And if you have any questions that you don't see listed, you can ask them and I will go through them with you. Okay, GG. Thank you for bearing with me, everybody. By the way, I had no script. I just went off the cuff for an hour, bro. Oh boy. It was fun though, and I do hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't boring. Okay. You should start talking about the void. Everyone is getting to it, and it could be the phrases from there too. Yeah? I still need to look into it on my end. I need to kind of do investigating. The void is interesting, and maybe I should maybe I should do some digging and then make a video about the void, because I've had my eye on the void ever since back in the day when I was doing the Eldritch theory and pinning the dots together about the pyramid race, you know, potentially being from ancient humanity, and then the missing link between the race and humanity being Nezarec, because Nezarec was on Earth, worshipped by ancient humanity. Nezarec has the void, which is technically the light, right? And the thing is that we even know that Nezarec had the void before being resurrected. So, like, I mean, what's going on with that, right? And at the same time, you have from Vanilla D2, I think Tyra Karn, talking about the ancient Earth shamans using the void to see the dead. Ooh. Anyway, so I should probably look into that. I don't know what I'll find. I don't know how long it'll take me, but I do think so. I should look into it. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I will show you this real quick. The favorite picture that will never come. By the way, I hope you like these intros. I think they're pretty fun. Let me... This is concept art. And Obviously, the city is still under construction, but I mean, you take away the scaffoldings, and it's kind of like that picture with like presumably these like neon lights, and you have like the main street going towards the pyramid. It's certainly, in my opinion, based off of that image for sure, for sure. I think so. Very cool, very cool. Okay. Okay. Um, Blair, if you're still here, the Black Fleet faction is the Pyramid Race, Pyramid Ships, Witness, all of that. Yep, as we know now, since the Witness and a few other made themselves into him. Yep, 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 yep. Nesquik, the Big Kahuna. Would be something if the Queen, that is, but what if she blows up the Vex network? I have no idea. I actually couldn't tell you. Technically, there are thousands of voices. We're told that. Blair, if you're still here, the... So unless the 1,000 voices are specifically coming from the Witness in that lore, excuse me, I need to know exactly what you're talking about, because it could be... Because I believe there's a difference, and there was a video that I was originally making, and I ended up scrapping it because I don't know. I might release it later, but it was stressful. It was basically talking about how there's two different types of voices. You have the Witness's voice, which as far as we know is the main two with maybe one or two echo voices. And then you have like the 1,000 dead voices or whatever, right? And I believe that that is the Pyramid Race. Now, if you're talking about part of a lore book where somebody's talking to the Witness and it's actually the Witness, and that's the case, then I can't really give you an explanation for that. But, excuse me, if you're talking about like presage, lore, or anything like that, that's my response for that. I believe the Witness tricked Maya. Maybe. I personally, I need to look into that myself. I need to go digging into the Maya stuff. It was okay. That lore was okay. There was seemingly a connection between the experiment with like the orchestra setup for the Veil in Neomuna, and it almost seemed to kind of be a connection to how the Witness was made. But if that was the case, the key thing is that they talk about there being a conductor or an orchestrator or like a key leader, and that to me was very interesting. Very interesting. I think by now we can safely say the winner as energy does not exist is an idea mental. I disagree. I disagree. And I believe that I think the fact, right, that, and I'm not going to spend ages arguing about the winner, right, but let me just put it like this. And it's a very simple statement, and there's no super deep digging that needs to go on or anything like that. It's very simple, which is you cannot have one without the other. And the reality is that it's looking more and more and more and more like the Gardener exists, and not just the Traveler, like the Gardener as a character. You can't have the Gardener without the Winnower. And the fact is that, again, the Traveler is not the actual light, and I do believe the Books of Sorrow, apart from other evidence, does suggest that. And again, we know that the Witness itself is not the darkness. This what's it called? The Veil existed before the Pyramid Race, and seemingly is a source of darkness. What's behind that? You know? So, I'm not going to get into it super deep, but I do disagree. And I will always maintain that even if in the end the Winnower ends up being scrapped, if the Winnower is scrapped, the Gardener will be scrapped too. And regardless of if they're both scrapped or not, they definitely existed, and they were retconned. And I mean, you watch Azracross's video, and he says that the narrative team at times were forced to completely rewrite whole expansions months before the thing came out. And that's not just them writing the story. That story then has to be sent to voice actors, the dialogue. So like it's a big part of the thing. Retcons happen all the time. But I do believe that until the retcon happens, it's official, which I don't think it has been yet, it exists. But anyway. I think the 9 got their final shape, but they chose badly. I also need to go digging more into the 9. Because there's kind of conflicting information about their origins, at least to me. So I need to do more digging into that. Felix, I don't know if you're still here or not, but I hope you enjoy Attack on Titan. It was something, all right. Could the Consensus be a faction made of the survivors of multiple golden ages, multiple species of the Guard? That would be really cool, Luca. Yeah, it's not confirmed that they're the one species. It isn't. And that would be really cool, dude. That would be really cool. I like your idea, dude. That's really cool. I hope that is the case. You should watch Evase's video on the Collections Edition, since you got some good points. The Collector's Edition, sorry. Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I'm sure he did, yeah. Seeing the dead with the void could be an early concept for self-trans and stuff. Yeah, basically. Yep. Clone has a good idea somewhat. Give thoughts. Wait. Clone has a good idea somewhat. Give thoughts on the video. No time to expand. I'll tell you what, since we do have time, once I'm done with all the questions, I might react to that, if you're interested. Most know that the Traveler is a conductor of the light, same as the Veil of the Darkness. Yeah. What's interesting as well is that you need to go into the Traveler to get to the key to the light, and it's probably the same with the Veil, honestly. Yeah. Traveler's not the light, nor the Witness of the Darkness. See, I agree with you, Blair, for the first half. I agree with you for the first half. I do. But, well, no, the Winnower has never been applied to the Witness. The Winnower has never been applied to the Witness. But, yeah. The Winnower has only been properly referenced to two things. Well, it's contained to Unveiling, but really the Winnower is connected to two. Unveiling and the Darkness, right? And the Final Shape. And us, technically, actually. We are technically connected to the Winnower and the Darkness. And, you know, what hasn't been explained is why we have an inherent darkness, like abilities. It's not explained at all. And I think the way we got stasis really is interesting. Really interesting. The 9 know about the void supposedly. You mean like the truth like of the void? Like the actual like big boy explanation? Look up Vice video about that. Mildly restocked with one of the... Ooh. I don't think so, Errol, because they got nuked by the Hive, and I believe that this is all before the Hive. I'm imagining the Teox. Imagine Teox being a member of the Kindred. Again, this... Because... So, like I said, that conversation predates the Witnesses, supposedly. Or not the Witnesses, sorry, the Disciples, supposedly. And the Hive were only made after we know Rolk became a disciple. So that means that at the time of that conversation and that consensus, the Hive never existed, and so Teox was not, not a thing. Winnower was applied to the Witness in its origin cutscene, maybe not so directly. In the origin cutscene. So if you're talking about the one in Season of the Deep, then I'm gonna just kill the music because I'm gonna watch this video, I think. If you're talking about the cutscene from Season of the Deep, I don't. So you say that it wasn't directly, but I don't see how it's at all. Yeah, I just don't see it myself. If there's anything connected to the Winnower, and I don't like this myself. I don't like this at all. It's the Veil. If it was me, the Veil never exists. But stasis is not a darkness power, but a power made by the witness in the image. Final shape. Is there a lore actively? But no, but Errol, like when you look at the description of the darkness subclasses, so when there used to be the two different diamonds, so there would be like the circle and the diamond or whatever it was. I think the light was like wield the gift of the traveler. The darkness area for where the darkness subclasses were embrace or wield the power within. So I don't know. No, they're not. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna watch this video, this Void video, real quick, and then I'm gonna probably gonna end it there. Again, very short-ish stream. I can close all these pictures. I'm just trying to find this Void video. How long ago was the video, guys? Because I can't find this video. Second, sorry about that. Did I? Sorry. I mean, how the Witnesses people associate themselves with galaxies. Oh, sorry. I see what you're. I think. So Blair, you're talking about they wanted to be like the Winnower from like an ideological perspective. Is that what you're talking about? No, I disagree, because if that's the case, because the Winnower has completely different motivations and a completely different end goal too. So they're kind of similar, but ultimately they are different, for sure. For sure. And here's the thing you need to remember, right? At the end of the day, what is 100% concrete is the Book of Sorrows. Books of Sorrow. And you have the conversation between Oryx and the actual Deep. And that character, who again basically uses the exact same language as the Winnower in Unveiling, by the way, has a completely different end goal than the Witness. So you know, again, there are things that still don't. And by the way, like I'm not like I'm just explaining my own opinion. This is how I see it. Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at it now.
This season.
Okay. Give me 1 second and I shall pull it up.
The Season of the Witch finale has been released. Some secret steps to acquire a new opaque card leads us to the Imbaru engine, where Savathun's greatest trick yet is revealed. New dialogue and an epic cutscene. Let's discuss the Last Wish, an Ahamkara egg, and the plan.
I haven't done this. I kind of don't want to be spoiled. Do you mind if I skip ahead a little bit? I'm just gonna skip ahead just to the to here, just because I haven't done it. I just don't want to get spoiled.
And so today we have some pretty cool Destiny stuff to discuss. Season of the Witch has been dormant for the last couple of weeks. If you've been playing Festival, that's been going on, but today we get the conclusion to this season's story. The next season will release in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I haven't
to first
done
begin
any of
your
this.
steps for this week's secret ending, you must go into the Altars of Summoning. Here you will collect the final opaque card, which will allow you to enter the Imbaru engine and find this secret. When you load into the altars, you want to follow my location to this specific battle area.
Is this... Are you sure this is the one about the void? Because if this is about like Season of the Wish and all that, I don't really see... Luca, that you're talking about, the voice in the deep, that was the video that I made. I was pretty much like 80 to 90% finished making it, and yeah, I don't know. I might release it in the future, but I don't know. Look at the Discord DM. Oh, you sent me the wrong one, you bingus. Okay. Okay, give me one second.
The final shape.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
It will have its own collector's edition. You get a cool tower statue, some little patches and items, but most importantly, some new story content. These editions usually have some great insight, and we get a sneak peek at what this next one has to offer. Ido analyzes information about the pyramid chips and members from the Witness's original species. Their thoughts and what the final...
Okay, I know I literally haven't seen like much of the video, but is Evade saying that RS and H&W are part of the Witness's original race? Because I straight up, like, when I first read the lore, that's what I thought, and then literally I spent a chunk of my original script explaining how I came to the conclusion that that literally couldn't be the case. Well, no, it can't be, because I literally went into so much detail as to why that faction, the Primacy, Conqueror, Sovereign, that's the Black Fleet. That's the Witness and the Pyramids, right? RS and H&W, in my opinion, cannot be members. Listen, I'm not just trying to be an argumentative person with Evade here. I would have loved it to be the race. But again, I could be, maybe, I'm going to go back. Maybe I'm...
analyzes information about the pyramid chips and members from the Witness's original species. Their members from the Witness's original... Ido analyzes information about the pyramid chips and members from the Witness's original species. Their thoughts and what the final shape in the beginning may have looked like. Let's take a look. The final confrontation with the Witness draws near. As preparations for the conflict are mobilized, the citizens of the last city brace for the climactic battle. Meanwhile, Ido scours the solar system looking for clues, messages, and intel on the origins of the Witness to share with Guardians. During her travels, she has also found a gift to honor your service, a light to accompany the darkness. So that's the description of the collector's edition, and you can see some of the images here and what's included. The cool thing is though, from some of these little booklets, you can actually read the text. Bungie clearly knew this when they were putting this up here, so maybe they didn't care if we saw these little entries, or maybe it's just text that's not even going to appear in the final version. Regardless, it does have some interesting information about the Witness's species. Let's read it first. It did not stop the Conquerors'
Sorry, I have an ad blocker on. My bad. Sorry.
primacy sovereign from using the gifts it granted for subjugation. Are we to accept that these two were meant to happen? If you reject the notion that destruction can be a final shape, how are we to accept that the Gardener allowed us to make such previous mistakes? One of the members responds, even after all these millennia, there is much we do not understand about the Gardener.
So he does think that this is the same race. Again, that was my original opinion. But I don't think it is possible, personally. The other thing as well that you need to remember, man, is that they are actively watching the Gardener, allowing other races to go and make mistakes. And that means that the Gardener is not with them, the Gardener is out and about. And we know that the Gardener only left when they turned on her with the veil. So again, like it just really doesn't, I really don't believe that this is no, because I wanted it to be. I straight up originally began writing my script saying that they were members of the race from before the fall, but it just didn't add up and it didn't work. It just didn't work.
Perhaps we will not understand until we achieve the final shape for ourselves. And when we have reached the final shape, will it all make sense? Will we all be able to live in a universe where people act as they have always acted, for the self-evident good? Where evil does not exist because we do not allow it, where all are aligned without suffering or doubt. This isn't like you, my friend. I am coming to see you. All will be well. Transcription ends. Ido's notes say this about that. The final shape is no longer described with a semantic cluster, but HNW and RS continue to use that structure to describe other concepts, potentially reflective of semantic narrowing. Given the terminology, this consensus might have been some sort of governing body or a source of philosophical guidance. From the context, some sort of computational assistant? There appears to be some sort of etymological overlap with the names of Vex mines, something to investigate later perhaps. My cross-checks for the identification code in Scribe Archive proved quite fruitful. The trail of datacrumbs led me to the databank retrieved from the rain ship originally downed on Mercury. The Saint and Osiris were kind enough to share it with me, along with a pot of tea. Our conversation was most illuminating. I understand that Mercury was a scorched wasteland before the Great Machine's arrival. When it had finished, humans could walk unprotected on its surface. What wonders the Great Machine can work. I can only hope that Mercury will return from the Witness's clutches, released as Titan was, so that I may see it for myself. I hear that, thanks to Sol engulfing its sky, one could study without pause, or at least until exhaustion proved greater than the desire to learn. Perhaps I could catch up on some light reading. In any case, the concept of the final shape has worn many faces. From your encounters with the disciples of the Witness, we know that they all had their own understanding of this concept, that they all saw what they wished to see in it. But the communication log here appears to predate all of them. If I am correct, and the parties communicating are among the Witness's precursors, then this may be the concept's original form. We can see in this log that HNW and RS at least were preoccupied with the concept of a higher purpose. They saw it, and then it continues. So these two characters, HN and RS, are described by Ido as members of the Witness's precursor species.
So, and that's the thing, right? When I first read the lore and I saw the term precursors, I was like, oh my goodness, yeah, they're the race, right? But then, yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And there's just too many contradictions to this. Again, you have, and I went into, if you weren't here for the full stream, so in that lore, right, that he even mentioned it. There's this other faction, this conqueror's primacy sovereign that use the gifts given to them by the gardener for subjugation. I went really into super deep detail into this faction, and even just the basic thing with subjugation, right? To me, that all points towards them being the pyramid ships. Excuse me. And what you also need to remember is that, and then again, you have the fact that the gardener's gone out and about, and they're watching it, giving gifts to other races, and then they're using it for bad, uh, which doesn't add up with the cutscene. Um, you have their golden age, which, um, oh, sorry, not the golden age. Their final shape that they want, which is obviously completely different to, because let's just say, right, that Evade here is correct and that this is the correct interpretation of the lore book. That means that the pyramid race had a concept of the final shape that they wanted, but they changed it. Now I'm gonna check one other thing, but I will finish this video first. But I have it. There's something that I'm kind of suspicious about.
The species they all were before they merged together and became the one being Witness. We've seen many examples of the final shape in our interactions with characters, and like the text, they all have their own interpretations of it. From the cave card, an unknown disciple said this: "There is conflict in me, a witness, that unsettles your weapon, myself. Why is it that you allow flawed understandings of your great work to persist in all those who serve you, even in your disciples? Every one of us seems to have some different conception of your final shape. I do not need reassurance in my own comprehension, only to understand what purpose it serves that you have chosen such disparate servants to carry out your will. Perhaps it is enough to simply trust that we are weapons in your hand, O Witness. Even if we cannot see the perfect shape of your plan, we serve it by your wielding of us. Each disciple has come to be only by your will, and so that incomprehension is also in your making. You ask for trust and obedience, and promise that whatever you do, whatever finality you achieve, will suit each of your followers perfectly. Your final shape will be 100 promises kept. I have seen the reflections of it through all of we disciples, through the tracks you leave in the universe, a truth understood through these shadows it casts. There, I have resolved the conflict within my thoughts, and I am at peace again. Once more, I am only your violence and nothing more. The final shape will realize us as we strive."
It's like, here's the thing, right? The final shape that this faction are going after is blatantly anti-evil and anti-suffering, and you can, I don't know, you can get wishy-washy with it and then say that that adds up with the winnower, because technically the winnower is both of those things. But again, the Black Fleet and the Witness's ideology don't match the winnowers, so I don't know. But I think that ultimately, it doesn't I'm trying, and that's the thing. When I first read this lore, I believed that they were members of this race. But the more I thought about it and I tried to paint this picture and I tried to paint this timeline, it just didn't work. And I'm trying to figure out, their their connection into the Veil, and talking about, well, maybe when we get the final shape, we can learn about the Gardener. But bro, the Pyramid Race straight up knew what the Gardener looked like, and at the same time, now I need to watch this cutscene again, but I really think a lot of why they changed and a lot of their motivations came from the Veil. And I don't know. It's not adding up to me. Maybe I'm just stupid, and that's perfectly it is what it is. But it's not, and the thing is, it's not like I don't want to agree with him. I do. If there's anybody who's biased towards the Pyramid Race, it's me, okay? But I I can't see it.
Some disciples like this unknown one here from the cave entry don't even know. They just blindly trust the witness and believe that this final shape will help everybody. And in the collector's edition page, the original members HN and RS speak about that original final shape Ido speculates about. Theories that predate these disciples. Even they themselves were confused.
Also, like I said, Ido then made a link between them and the Vex. So have fun with that. I have no idea, dude.
So it would seem someone was at the head of this. Someone from their species was in charge of this campaign of destruction and the merging of their species.
Yep.
At the beginning, they talk.
Yep. Yeah, like, yes, 100%. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. The society was formed, yes, under the Gardener, sure. But there was 100% places of leadership. And, yeah, for sure, man. For sure. 100%. I definitely think that there was, and I think regardless of my king and queen theory, it doesn't matter. I do think that the witness has a core personality based off of one or two people, and I think those people who are in control of the witness, like the body, are the people who originally were in charge and who were kind of running the show, who orchestrated the fall and the merging, right?
Talk about the Traveler, that it gave gifts and allowed the wielders to use it as they wished, even for evil, or granted to subjugation. Like the cutscene we've seen last season, they wanted to rewrite the universe using the Veil on the Gardener. The Gardener ignored their ideals, so they took it upon themselves to transcend to something greater, achieve what they want in that ideals, so they took it upon themselves using the Veil. Like the cutscene we've seen last season, they wanted to rewrite the universe using the Veil on the Gardener. The Gardener ignored their ideals, so they took it upon themselves to transcend.
I'm kind of confused by that line. Wait, I'm just one more time.
The Gardener. Seen last season, they wanted to rewrite the universe using the Veil on the Gardener.
They wanted to rewrite the universe using the Veil on the Gardener. True.
Ignored their ideals, so
the Gardener ignored their ideals. I don't really get that because they were basically trying to crack open the egg, bro. The ideals, I don't think has anything, like, they were basically trying to take by force what they wanted. And I don't think it was the Traveler ignoring their ideals. I think it was the Traveler running for its life. I do. I really do. Literally, the link is made. The witness is in the Traveler. Technically, the race is in the Traveler. What's the Gardener doing? Basically screaming for help as the ghost, even in Mario, I think it was, indicated. So I don't think this was just a I think this is like literally, okay, yikes, I'm in danger.
They took it upon themselves to transcend to something greater.
Yeah, but they took it upon themselves to try and make the link with the Veil. So it's basically the same thing, but yeah.
Achieve what they want in that final shape. Ido even talks about a possible group running this. He said the consensus might have some sort of governing body or a source of philosophical guidance, so someone was leading this charge. We wrap this up with the Tessellation
I apologize.
lore card. Once, nothing became something. There was a game of possibilities.
Oh boy. Oh, we're doing this. Okay.
Patterns emerged that could, would flourish or fail, wax or wane, and in the gaps between, there was nothing. But nothing is an absence, defined by all the things that might one day be and yet never find fruition. It is an entropy of existence. For nothing to become something is as simple as a flipped bit,
maybe
a
this isn't
chance
what I think it is.
mutation, a fallen leaf.
But
Once
if
it
my
has
voice is
become,
strained, I
it
was
has
talking a
always
lot. So,
become,
and I am sick.
for
I do
castles
apologize.
are less fragile when built by something than nothing. Something grows, and grown it is seen. Once, something became something else. There were a people of potential and promise, of
Okay, sorry, my
galvanizing
bad.
growth.
I got
tools,
the thing mixed up. Um. Oh yeah, I think I know what this is. This is yeah. Okay.
Their grand intention, the happenstance alignment of infinite years and atoms were as sculptor's clay, that which becomes the finest of statuary, purpose carved from meaninglessness, the chance generation of the universe crafted
So
into
just to explain my earlier reaction, that earlier part, it kind of reminded me a bit of the opening to Unveiling, and I thought he was kind of like opening a can of worms and like trying to because like Unveiling is like it's a very touchy lore topic because everybody has like a different interpretation of it. But this is, I'm pretty sure
beauty,
this
intentionality.
is.
That which served no reason ceased, randomness elided by the sculptor's art. Something changes, and changed it continues. Once something will become nothing. There are beings who plant their intent and
Yeah,
say,
this is for Tessellation, isn't it? This is the Tessellation lore book, pretty sure, or the lore page. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? He's talking about the stubborn flower that will defy even stone. Um, okay, I'm just gonna.
so far, no further. The bulwarks and the bastions, the stubborn flower that will defy even stone. In these hands, possibility is a single-minded tool. Resolution, pursuit, obliteration. What potential lies in empty space? All that dies is only ever transformed, abscised and swallowed by wilderness, returned to infinite metamorphosis. To excise from that rich loam of transformation requires no less than perfect certainty. Here is the secret. A plowshare and a sword have never truly differed. So there you have it, Guardians. Some more insight into the final shape.
I'm very confused. Wait, what was his point?
According to that lore entry there from Tessellation, Ido's analyzing of the collector's edition on that word from the witness's original precursor species. If you like to see
Wait, what? No, but what was the point about the Tessellation lore? Wait a minute, sorry. Did I miss it? I don't.
excise
Okay, I am a little bit confused. I don't know what the connection is between Tessellation and the rest of it. Ultimately, right? I don't. I just don't. I just don't agree that. I don't agree that this was the pyramid race. I really don't. And it's not that I don't want it to be. You like listen, guys. You know me, right? Like, I'm the pyramid ship fanboy, but I can't I can't paint the picture. I can't make the timeline. There are too many contradictions. Yeah, it just doesn't. And yeah, I don't mean any disrespect to Evade, but I think our interpretations are completely different of the lore. So, yeah, it is what it is. But although I disagree with how he came to the opinion that there was an original leadership of the race, I agree with the statement, full stop. I do, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Um, my personal theory, right, and this isn't like a fact, I'm not making it a statement, but kind of like what I've been cooking up in my head trying to figure out. I do think that there was this king and queen, and I think the witness was separate. Following the religious links, my personal theory would have been that there were the king and queen, like the actual leaders, sorry, and then you would have had the religious leader, and then maybe that was like the core of the. But um, and I do believe that Nezric was the king originally. Um, and if the king and queen characters are still relevant at all, if they in any way still exist, then it's possible that they are the joint leading personalities of the witness, which I think would be cool, right? For cool sake, right? It'd be cool. But anyway, yeah, the video I just didn't really. It doesn't. I don't agree with it. I'm sorry. I feel like a bad person, but I don't. I don't. Um, bro, you know what I'd love to do? I would love to do this. And the thing is, I'm a tiny creator, right? So it's whatever. If Vade probably doesn't know I exist, but I always love doing my podcast. Not even podcast. I just love talking and sharing theories, right? And I kid you not, right? I was on the forums today, and I saw a guy. Do you know what? Do you know what? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm gonna, for the sake of, I really want to do this. 1 second. I want to give this guy a shout out. Where is this guy? I want to give him a shout out. Bro, did he delete his posts? Or did he just change his... Ah, here we go. So there's this guy, right? On the Bungie forums. And excuse me. So this guy here, MC 77. I think it was yesterday or the day before as well. This guy has been sharing theories on the forums, and I just want to say that I really appreciate people like this guy because I used to put my own theories on the Reddit and the forums, and this one seems to be okay, but like the last one that he posted got like really heavily downvoted, and no, I just really appreciate these kind of people. I didn't even agree with his last theory at all. I didn't. But the thing is, I don't care about agreeing or disagreeing with the people. I just care about people trying to figure things out. When people are content to wait for a lore book or wait for somebody's YouTube video to explain it to them, that's fine. But it means that you're guaranteed to never find out before the official release. It's only when people go digging that you at least come up with theories, and then you potentially can figure it out before it actually happens. And so regardless of if I agree with people or not, I appreciate that they're at least trying. But anyway, going back to what I was saying. I would really love to talk to Evade about like lore stuff. I'll be honest, not even like, doesn't even have to be like on a stream or like in a video or something. I don't care about that at all. But man, I'd love to, because he's the closest thing I think to me content wise in terms of theories and stuff. I'd love to pick his brain. The thing that I'm very aware of is that I don't know everything about the lore. I don't. I have a very specific niche interest. So because of that, I am 100% always willing and open to being proven wrong by people who know more than I do. And no, that's people like my friend Archival Mind. Uh, you know, anybody who can give me a reference, who can back up what they're saying with the lore, and it's actually the correct interpretation or whatever. Like it's like 100%. Um, People like Evade or Bife, like yeah, I would love to be able to talk, because like even though I just disagree with his video there, um, no man, I'd love to, because like I have questions now, because I originally believed what he believes, right? That was what I was gonna make the video about, and then I began to think, and I sat down, and it just wasn't adding up. It didn't work. And I'm assuming that he has gone through that same process, and yet he has, you know, he definitely sees it as being that way. So I would love to like ask him. I was like, okay, so like, what's your like opinion then on like this contradiction or that contradiction, you know? And it's not even me trying to like debate him. I'm just like trying to figure out, you know? I'm just like, I'm assuming that you figured out this problem that I have. So like what was that? Maybe that will solve my own thing. But yeah, most likely. Bro, by the time I ever, like, I don't know, I feel like it's one of those things where you kind of have to be quote unquote relevant, so to be able to get communication. But yeah, no, I would love to pick his brain on the lore. I think that'd be really cool. But anyway, I missed a ton of the chat, so I'm just gonna the void one. The video was uploaded weeks ago. No, that doesn't actually change my points though about, because my reason as to why I don't agree is based off of the same lore that he's basing his thing off of, so it doesn't really matter. Also, the Kilm's going is because they would have, but if they are higher purpose, I mean, no, it's at least we get to see Evade's perspective on the book. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. I think he sees it like how the Hive got transformed. The thing is, right, I don't think that is what he presented in the video, but I actually agree with that because I believe that they were deceived by whatever was. Listen, actually, do you know what? Real quick, I'm sorry. I wanted to check this real quick. I wanted to check this.
They called it the Gardener. A deity of life.
Okay, so they called it the Gardener, their god of life, effectively.
It ushered them into a golden age.
Yes.
For eons, they prospered.
Yes.
But their newfound god never spoke to them.
Yes.
It lavished them with gifts.
Gifts that they used eventually for subjugation.
But not with guidance.
Hence, they used it for subjugation.
And though they lived in paradise, they came to crave a greater purpose.
That, in my opinion, is like the only line that kind of ties them to RS and H&W. The problem, though, is this whole concept of seeking a higher purpose. That isn't an exclusively... I see that as the rule, not as the exception for the Pyramid Race. To me, the Pyramid Race are proof that even with a paradise, they still will desire a greater purpose. I believe it was similar with the Hive. I think it's similar with humanity. I think it's just built in that because we have no purpose, because the universe was a mistake. I take unveiling as a literal history, and the reality is that the universe was not supposed to happen. It was an accident. It was a complete accident. The Winnower and the Gardener had no idea that them fighting would create the universes. And literally, like, why was the Winnower against the Gardener changing the rules of the game? Because she would inadvertently create chaos and suffering. Do you know what's contained within chaos and suffering? A lack of purpose and guidance and just aimless wandering and dying. And I think that's ingrained in every species, not just the pyramid race. Again, the pyramid race proved that this was a rule. They were not the exception in that they were the only ones who had this desire for a greater purpose. So that is like the only line that really kind of connects the two in that collector's edition lore. But again, that's not enough for me personally.
A connection.
Okay.
Their scholars discovered that the Gardener shared a connection with another entity among the stars. The Garden. A winnower. They desired meaning. Structure. A winnower. To shape the garden.
Okay, so they desired basically a winnower to shape the garden. What that effectively means is that, so this does kind of fall under the lines of what Blair was saying earlier. I think the reality is that even if that was like their intention of trying to, okay, let me just explain this real quick. Let me explain before I'm playing like 5D chess where I'm like 5 moves ahead. Basically, the whole concept of, oh, we want a winnower to shape the garden, because the winnower was all about structure and, if the game ends the same way, who cares, because it's the most efficient, cleanest way, and it is what it is. It is majestic. You trying to change it, you can't make it the way you want it to, the gardener. You can try, but you're not guaranteed. You're just going to cause suffering. You're going to cause disorder. You're going to cause all kinds. And that's exactly what happened, by the way, with this universe, right? And I think with this race, they felt like they had no purpose. And I think, quite frankly, they did also come to the conclusion, which I think RS and H&W came to, and which I came to, and probably people like Toland or Osiris came to, which is that the Gardener does not have a very much any control over the universe at all. But if somebody doesn't control the universe, then there's going to be chaos and suffering until potentially either somebody does take control of it and does good with it, or somebody terrible takes control over it. And I'm pretty sure this is a realization we're going to have in Final Shape. I mean, I think the writing's been on the board for a while, but that's the kind of concept of the whole we need a winnower to shape the garden, because they're having, they feel lost and aimless, and I think they're projecting that sense of aimlessness onto the universe. And listen, I'm just kind of talking off the cuff here. I can't give you quotations and sources, but this is just my interpretation, right? But that's my take on that line, right? You can kind of interpret that line a few different ways with the winnower, but that's my take on it.
Their scholars discovered that the Gardener shared a connection with another entity among the stars. They called it the Veil, and when they found it, they arrived to claim it. They already knew much about the light, how it could bend the laws of the universe and create life. But they came to realize that it could bring ruin just as easily. The cosmic events it set in motion could wipe out entire civilizations.
And what's also interesting is that, like, this is... I mean, there's two ways of looking. I don't want to go on for ages about this, but like, you can really read between the lines with this cutscene. But I'll give you this one point. If there's any reason why H&W and RS would potentially, or H&W mainly, because RS was like, we'll find it when we get there. It's whatever. Because here's the thing, man. From the sounds of it, the established position by these two characters was that the bad things happen. It's all just part of the Gardener's plan. H&W is kind of like, yeah, but I don't know. If there's any reason why they're trying to get their final shape, it's because they're afraid somebody else will who shouldn't. And if there's any ever a reason why they would turn on the Gardener, it's because she's basically allowing these other factions to do terrible things and she's not stopping them. This here is that, oh, well, the light is capable of destroying things. I'm going to just say this, man. I went through the lore. I have yet to see any indication of the light straight up causing natural disasters. The God Wave, that wasn't the light. The wave on Titan wasn't the light. I mean, sure, you have kind of things associated with characters that have the light, but it's like, you didn't have Guardians then. But you know who did apparently have the light, or who seemingly knew a lot about it, were these binguses. Look, everything's fine. These dudes are communing or something?
Easily. The cosmic events it set in motion
could
wipe out entire civilizations.
Oh no, we messed up. Oh no. Oh no. Oh,
and
sorry.
So they saw the light.
Sorry.
Not
oh,
as
and what are they doing? What are they doing?
Look.
Oh, they're messing with it even more. So, like, again, it's just. Listen, I'm tired. I'm sick, man. But I don't want to spend this whole time talking about this cutscene. But my main point, I want to skip ahead.
But of unfettered chaos. By studying the veil, they came to know the darkness. A power that was shaped by thought and consciousness. And in the darkness, they found the means to carve away the chaos of existence, to calcify it into a final shape.
Yeah, GG. Like, that's what I thought, right? The Pyramid Race only came up with the concept of a final shape after they found the veil. After they had the darkness themselves. And, yeah, in my opinion, it does not add up with the lore from the Collector's Edition. It doesn't really, no. And then again, like, the fact that they're literally watching the Gardener giving gifts to people and then they're doing stuff with them, and it's just, the timeline doesn't fit. That's the problem. Now, I want to be clear, and I'm going to play devil's advocate for Evase here. And for the record, listen, I am in no way going after Evase. I watched a video with his opinion, and I'm sharing my opinion as well. But what I will say is that to play devil's advocate for Evase, these contradictions that I'm coming up with, they might not matter. Evase could be right, and Bungie just didn't think about it. That's a very real possibility, guys. Like, it doesn't... I can give you all kind. I can go super deep. I can give you all the whys and ifs and the buts, but Bungie has continuously proved that they'll change the story to fit whatever they want. They will make something and it will have errors, but then they'll keep, they'll just move on. And again, I'm not even attacking Bungie with this, but that's the standard that we have to accept. And so, yeah. What I'm saying could put holes in this belief, but it could be right anyway because Bungie says it is. But anyway, yeah, that was my hunch about this.
Eternal and perfected. They brought
That's the other thing as well, right? Where so they get the idea of a final shape, and it's from the beginning the whole calcification of reality so that nothing changes. What did RS and H&W say their golden age was? A world where everybody can act for good. You can't do that if everything's frozen in time or in whatever. Like, it's different. It's two different things.
The veil back to the Gardener in an attempt to strengthen their connection. There, they could reshape reality itself.
Now, why would the Gardener let them do this? Why would the Gardener let them do? Why? No. You're like, whoa, whoa, you weren't. Okay, guys, I messed up. This is a bad idea, bro. This is a bad idea. Like this. Oh boy. Um, do you want my honest opinion? As much as the Black Fleet already existed, and as much as the people became the winnower, my theory, and I wouldn't be surprised, bro, I wouldn't be surprised if the gardener nuked them when she ran away. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. Why would she just sit there and then just leave and not at least try and do something to, like, okay, yikes, I made a mess. I gotta just wipe it away. You know? It's like in the Bible with God, he made earth or whatever, and then he was like, oh no, this is bad, dude. No, this is okay, we're gonna do the flood. We're just gonna, GG. Speaking
The
of floods.
gardener would not allow it. And so it fled their world. But they would not be deterred. Having witnessed the truth in the darkness,
And again, their whole motivation, apart from the purpose, is based off of the quote unquote truth that came out of the veil. Bro, I think they were deceived. They were 100% deceived.
they used its binding power to merge themselves into the salvation they craved. Thus began the Witness's pursuit. Its campaign to impose meaning on a meaningless universe. On a meaningless universe. One that is nearly at its end.
Yeah, that's my take on that. Yeah, that's my. I just wanted to make sure that I kind of thoroughly thought about that. I could watch the Void video, but I'll be honest with you, the stream's going on for 2 hours, and I don't want these to be long streams, so I think I might leave it. But if you want, I could always do it later on. In the future, it won't be this week, but I do plan on having a day set aside for longer streams, and maybe that could be something that we incorporate into that. I know, Luca, that's actually something I thought too. How is Ido reading this conversation in the story? It's billions of years in the past, and what is she reading? I know. But my guess, dude, is it probably got explained in an earlier page or something. I don't know. Is the Winnower's race leadership like Bungie? Oh boy. No, clone. I'm pretty sure he means that they tried to use Veil and Traveler. No, he is right, but I just disagree with the term. It just rejected their ideals. It's not like I disagree with you, so I'm gonna leave. I think it was genuinely scared. But I know he is right. No, like I mean that's what happened, right? You should also watch Bive's video on the Void. Will P. Parsons be the next enemy after the Witness? Bruh. They create the light is not destroying, but as they call it, they create chaos, which means it's transforming and set certain motion. I don't agree with that because the cutscene implies that it literally happened on their planet. So it seems like there was bad stuff happening just to them. But I don't know. Like and destroy stuff after the things. So yeah. Yeah. How did I don't know? Maybe we'll learn it next season. Maybe. I mean, next season people should start getting their collector's editions. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to react to anything else, guys, because it is getting late, and also I don't want these to be long streams. I think what I might do is I might just upload the discussion part as a VOD, like a video. And that'll be like the part 2 to the video. But, yeah. What do you guys think? Did you like this format at all? Like the discussion and then just kind of like conversation part of it. Because I would like to do these probably for every video. I think that'd be, because it allows me to first of all hang out more with you guys, and then you can straight up ask me like questions and stuff like that. It's not just like, oh well, I'll write a comment and maybe he'll see it. But at the same time, then it allows me to be more conservative with my video scripts, and I don't have to worry like, oh, I really want to talk about this, but it's gonna make my video 20 minutes instead of 10, you know. But on these streams, I can go as deep as I want, and I can flesh everything out fully. Okay. The one thing that we do not know is how the Traveler came to be. True. Also, the fact that the Traveler is mechanical and the Veil is organic, and yet they're seemingly like from the same source, it just boggles me. I just don't understand it, but we'll figure. Bungie will figure it out eventually, I'm sure. But anyway, I think I'm going to end it there. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope maybe you understood more things about the video than you did when you first watched it. Thank you for your questions. I hope I answered them okay. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this this format of doing things. And yeah, in the future maybe I'll react to more stuff. Yeah, again, I disagreed with the vase in that video, but I mean it's just like I would just love to ask him the questions that I had when I read the lore. I'd love to do that. But yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna end it there. Thank you everybody who showed up. I hope in the future we get even more people. But yeah, you too, Errol. Okay, bye-bye.